Awesome. Good afternoon.
Hello.
We're here with Jay Odjick. Yes, I love
Mm-hmm.
it. Thanks for
Mm-hmm.
coming on with us, brother. We're just talking in the back room about all the things that you've been doing since we saw you last in, I think it was June or maybe
June.
July. I
Mm-hmm.
think when we
Yeah.
we interviewed you after the National Indigenous Peoples Day event. When you joined us for that, and that was really awesome. You're such an inspiring, cool dude.
Mm.
I know
Thank
we
you.
have a lot of people that follow the work that you do because you're just so like full of creative juices that you share with people and inspiration. And I think I really feel like you give power. You like encourage power.
Thank you.
And there's nothing wrong with that. It's so needed right now. And when we were in the back room just there, you were, starting to speak in a passionate tone, and I stopped you. But just if you don't mind, we're just going to introduce ourselves. I'm Jody Harbour, Scano Jody Miyaso. My great grandmother was of the Cayuga Nation from Six Nations of the Grand River Territory. I'm honored that we're still doing this interview on Grandmother's Voice, Speak Up and Empower, a community that has given the space and platform for people like us to connect with people like Jay that are just regular, everyday people doing really amazing things to empower each other. And this is
And
my
I'm Sherry Sayville. I'm from Treaty Six Territory, Cree, but make my home in Ontario. And yeah, we're so thrilled to have you here, Jay. I followed your career right from the very beginning, and of course, Robert Munch was always my favorite kids. My favorite kids story, and then with you, of course, partnering up with Robert Munch, it was amazing. I finally thought about time.
Oh, thank you. Thank you very much.
Mm.
So, Kwe Jay Odjick, Indigenous, I'm an Algonquin artist, writer, and television producer from the Kitigan-Zibi Anishinaabe community in Quebec, about an hour and a half outside Ottawa. And as your host said, I've done some work with Robert Munch. So I started in comics, transitioned from like creating one of the first, I guess, Indigenous superheroes in comic books or the comic book industry to television, where we brought my character Kagagi the Raven to television screens. So as far as I'm aware, that was the first ever Indigenous superhero television series. We did an animated series that's broadcast in Canada, the United States, and Australia. And then from there, I illustrated two books written by Robert Munch, and both of them were feature all Indigenous casts of characters and are both set in First Nations communities. And I'm especially proud of the latter of the two, which was called Bear for Breakfast, which was published in Algonquin. So it was really cool to see a book on the bestseller list published in an Indigenous language. And I think if you would have told me as a kid that we'd see that someday, I'm not sure I would have believed you. So that was really awesome. And we're here to talk about stuff I've been up to lately because I've been a busy boy, so it should be a good time.
I know. I creep you on Facebook.
Oh, yeah.
I gotta follow the people that inspire and empower me as well, and really empower the youth of today. So, yeah, there's a lot of stuff that you've been doing. One thing that I have to tell you that I saw that I don't know that I ever commented on, or maybe I did, but you did. I think it was a painting on a helmet, like was it a
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
was so I have to talk to that because I love motorcycles. I shouldn't have one, which is why I don't. But tell us about that if you don't mind before we get into all the other amazing things that you're
For
doing. 'Cause
sure.
that one was so inspiring to see.
For sure. That actually came about because of my work with Robert Munch, which I thought was a weird roundabout way of getting into it, but it was done for an organization called the True Patriot Love Fund. And what TPL does is they hold a yearly charity auction of these helmets that they have painted by different artists and creative people across the country. And all the proceeds from the auction go to benefit vets and their families. And that's an issue that's pretty near and dear to my heart because I had numerous people on my mother's side of the family who fought in World War II and served in the service. And a lot of my friends and my younger brother's friends, so who saw service, not just served, but saw, combat in Afghanistan. So it was an issue that I really I was honored to take part in, and it was a strange thing because I guess the guy who's responsible for getting a hold of people was like, yeah, so my wife is a teacher and she teaches like kindergarten, and she's a big fan of your work with Robert Munch. Would you be up for painting a helmet? And I was like, okay. And it's such a weird thing because like it's not really what I do at all. Like I'm not one of those artists who works in like 3D mediums, or even I think I've painted like 3 canvases. So I was like, I'll try, but the piece I did was called Legacy, and I dedicated it to our Indigenous vets. And I
Mm.
wrote up a little piece explaining why, because I think currently in the Canadian Armed Forces are something like 3 to 4 thousand Indigenous people currently seeing service, and it's something I don't think we see talked about a lot.
Mm-mm.
So I just kind of wanted to acknowledge those people and say, thank you for their service and what they do. And the piece actually ended up selling for, I think it was 2,200, and
Wonderful.
it was the most expensive piece at the auction, which I thought was really humbling. And to
Mhm.
be honest, like I was kind of surprised because they always have some really well known artists and some pretty famous people. So, like Margaret Atwood had a piece in this year's auction. So I thought that was really cool. And it's really a humbling thing. But I'm glad we could raise some money to do something for some people who could use it.
It was really cool. I checked it on your Facebook page, and our our stream in our situation here is really temperamental, or else I'd be sharing that picture right now. But definitely go, and I'll share it on our Facebook page later on today too, after we talk. So
Yeah, and please do go check out True Patriot Love, because they do it every year, but you can donate at any point, and it really is a good cause. And if you look into it, you'll see that, like, I don't want to I don't want to take us down a difficult road, but I think the Canadian government could do a lot more for veterans. So it's something that just for us to keep in mind. And there are a lot of Indigenous vets, and in all honesty, one of the things that I was really surprised to learn about, I was really touched by, was in the Second World War, there was one First Nations community where every adult man from the community enlisted. And those are the kind of stories that I think we need to get out there to make people knowledgeable about. So please do check out True Patriot Love, and consider supporting a good cause.
Thank you.
I love
That's
that.
awesome.
True Patriot Love.
Yeah, True Patriot
That's
Love.
awesome.
Yeah. Yeah.
So you know what? Like, then let's just jump right into like Warrior Up. All right, because I think that's exactly what you're saying right now. Is like, tell us that story if you don't mind, because I have a lot of questions about it, but just
Sure.
let's talk about what you just launched.
Sure. So I don't remember how long it's been. I think it's been about maybe 3 weeks or so. I had this idea for a while, and people have always been asking me, like, why don't you do like t-shirts and stuff? And to be honest, one of the major reasons why I never did is because it's an incredibly complex thing in a way. So, like, in the first 24 hours of Warrior Up existing, we sold shirts of every size from small to 3 extra large. So what that means is, say for example, you got a shirt made, you'd have to get, like, I don't know, let's say we got 40 of one design. But then that actually ends up becoming like more like a couple of hundred, because we need to get all those sizes covered.
Mhm.
And not only is that like a huge cost in terms of like overhead, but then you have to worry about physical space. So I literally don't have the room in my place where I'm staying to keep all of that, and I'd have to get a warehouse or something. So the way I went about it, I used a platform called Teespring, which handles all the orders and ships all the stuff. So I thought that was a really good way to get it done. And at the same time, I kind of wanted to show youth we can do these things without having deep pockets or having inherited a bunch of money from mom and dad or grandpa or whatever.
Mhm.
And we don't need to apply for grants and stuff. We can just do stuff if we have ideas in our head, and there's a way we can do it where we're just like, this ain't going to cost you nothing but your own time. So if you have a creative mind, you can translate that into real world dollars. So Warrior Up is a store. We have t-shirts, we have hoodies, we have iPhone cases, pillows, banners, posters, face masks, leggings, which I think the leggings are really sharp and really cool. Yeah, and it's been a lot of fun, and all it is just ideas from my head that I translate to a computer screen that I draw, and then from there we put them up, and it's something that's been a lot of fun, and people have really seemed to enjoy the stuff, and it's been a good time.
Awesome. So yeah, I there's a lot of information that I like read up on the actual the logo and like how you came up with it. But like, let's talk about first like the guy. Okay, because there's like a superhero captain, Indigenous, hot. Okay, he's a nice looking superhero. I'm not gonna lie, and it was amazing when I saw that. Like, was that designed for this? That superhero you for this line, or is that your existing one?
I'm
Okay.
I'm a weird kid in the way that, like, I think I understand marketing maybe better than I actually do, but I knew we had to start with something bold. We need to start with something eye-catching. I couldn't just be like, hey, I've got a store. So the way I went about launching the store was I posted a graphic of that thing called the First American, which some people might argue is very reminiscent of a certain Captain America type character from Marvel Comics. And I knew that would get people talking. I knew that would create interest. And I just posted the picture with one word. It just said tomorrow.
Oh,
Yeah.
wow.
So it got a lot of people going like, what's he doing? What's he up to? Right? It's just trying to create some interest, create some buzz. And I think where I felt bad was that a lot of people thought it was going to be a new comic or a new book or something.
Mm.
And I felt kind of bad because it's like, oh, I got people excited for nothing, but the next day when we actually did, I did post the links to the store. People were really excited about it and it was cool, but it's kind of funny. Like, to me, you see these things like Captain America and these companies like Disney, who owns Marvel Comics, are doing these things. And I think we're underrepresented in that.
Yeah.
I don't think there's enough Native people. I don't think there's enough people of color. I don't think there's enough LGBTQ people at those companies. And I don't think there's enough characters. And when we do see them, it's way too rare that we see the people who are like those people represented not only in hiring, but creating those characters on the page. So I kind of wanted to start with a bit of a tongue-in-cheek thing and say, you got Captain America. Well, here's the First American.
Yeah.
Don't forget, you were here first, right? So I wanted to start with something kind of strong and bold like that. And I figured it would, I don't know if I can say any kind of bad words, but I figured it would tick some people off. And it did a little bit, but that's okay. At the same time, I think a lot of Indigenous people were really excited by it and really dug it. So that's kind of how it started. I started with just this image of this First American superhero character. I said tomorrow. People came back to check, and we had the whole store was up and running. We had the First American stuff. There's the Warrior Up line of clothing. There's a Skoden Club, which is pretty cool, and just a bunch of stuff. Yeah,
Girl power. I love that. That was that's that one picture.
Yeah, so I think that's cool. I'm glad you dig it. I wanted to try to be as inclusive as I could, and at the same time, the Thunderbird one has done really well. People really seem to like that, which is cool. And I think if you go across the gamut of all of the different designs, there's kind of while they're not all the same type of thing, there's kind of an undercurrent or a theme to it, which is, as you said, empowerment. And the term warrior, I was concerned people would think that was, a violent thing, which is not the case. We're not advocating violence by any stretch. What we're saying is we all have our own personal challenges. We all have our own hills to climb. And the Warrior Up thing is really just saying, like, you can face those challenges. You can get out there. You can get after it. Be a warrior. And if that means, just getting to the gym or getting out there and running and being active and bettering yourself, then that's what it means. In our case, specifically, what it meant was we're going to take this money and we're going to use it to try to do some good for other people. So all of the proceeds from the store's launch went to the purchase of toys for needy kids. And we got enough toys, I think, to cover probably around 100 kids. And we delivered all of that to Toy Mountain in Ottawa. So warrioring up, if you say I'm going to warrior up, it can mean just doing something good and taking a stand for a cause you believe in and making a difference. So it's not about violence by any stretch. It's just about trying to make your world or the world a better place in any way that you can, to me anyway.
No, it's beautiful. And it's exactly echo. Are you echoing on your end?
No, I don't hear any. I'm half deaf, though. I was in a rock band when I was younger. So I'm getting old. I need reading glasses, and I'm half deaf. It's a train wreck over here.
Well, if it keeps echoing, then we're just going to try to keep talking.
Okay.
Because I think it is still echoing. But I just wanted to mention, you did say something about, I was reading an article that was written, I think it was like Yahoo. You shared that somewhere. And it did mention you saying that we need to see some positive, heroic Indigenous depictions on the shirts and on our bodies. And I think it's so important that we are represented, and people in our fashion. We're so talented, and you are a really talented guy. And then also to learn more of the background and the sensitivity and the connection and the, connection to culture, and just, it's really empowering and very inspiring. So, Nyong'o for being you, and for, just being brave enough to take all of everything that you embody and putting it out there for people to, to want to.
Well, if you don't mind, I'd like to talk about something I've never, ever talked about publicly.
Of course. I love it.
Okay. So last year, right around this time of year, I guess, I started to, like, I've always been somebody who's worked really hard. And one of the dangers of that, I think, is it can kind of become a crutch, where when you can't handle things that are happening in adversity and stuff like that, you can almost kind of hide and work. And I got really busy, and I stayed that way I've been busy for a very long time. And I was always tired. I felt like no matter what I do, I'm not sleeping well. And I chalked it up to insomnia. And then over the holidays, I realized it might be something more than that. And I was starting to cramp up. I was only sleeping maybe an hour or two at a time. I'd wake up, and I just didn't feel like I had energy. So I made an appointment with my family doctor to go get checked out. And inside of a week, my muscles actually started to shut down. So all of a sudden, it was like if I wanted to stand up, my legs were not answering the call. And that really, like, that was pretty freaky. I've always been very physical. I've always been very physically active, and it just kind of came out of nowhere. And in a span of like 2 weeks, all of a sudden, it was like I couldn't stand up. So I went to get checked out at the hospital, and it turned out, without getting into the details of it, I had a kidney problem where my kidneys were not processing this enzyme correctly, and it led me to being dehydrated, which is why I was cramping and why my muscles were not working anymore. And I spent about a week in the hospital. And again, nobody knows this. At the time, no one knew this, to the extent that when I was in the hospital, I never even told my family. So nobody knew. And I lost a ton of weight really fast. I lost a lot of muscle, a lot of strength really, really quickly. And it was pretty scary stuff. I was they were keeping me at first in the, what they call what is it called? The shock room or something. It's kind of the middle ground between like intensive care and the emergency. And I don't even remember any of it. The first 48 hours, I have just bits and pieces that I remember, because I was so out of it. So they kept me in the hospital. They were thinking it was going to be about 2 to 3 weeks. And instead I ended up there for like 6 days. And I was able to get out, because I talked to my doctor, and I'm like, can you let me go? And they're like, no, you're still, we still got to monitor you. And I'm like, look, we both know I'm only going to get better if I rest. And as long as I'm here, I'm not sleeping. So if you let me go, I'll go home, I'll sleep, and I'll call you like in a day or two and let you know how I'm doing. And I was able to use my Odjick charm to be released, even though maybe that wasn't the smartest thing. But I was right. And I came home, and I think I slept for like 12 to 14 hours immediately. And I was feeling better within a couple of days. It took me a while to really get over it. And I had to literally start rebuilding from that point forward. So it was like, okay, I lost a lot of muscle mass. I lost a lot of strength. I got to get out there. And how do you find the motivation to do that? It's not just about the physical side of things. It's about emotionally and mentally. It's so discouraging to be like, oh, I've lost so much. How do I get back? And for me, it was really about trying to find a motivation to get out there and get active again and start working out, because I had lost so much. And that's a big part of the reason why anybody who follows me on social media will know they've probably seen me show off my muscles once or twice. And I want people to know, when I talk about, one of the things that I often say is the only thing we can control is how hard we work. We can't control what our passions are. There's no such thing as God-given gifts insofar as talent goes. We could be predilected towards liking something, but show me somebody very talented, I'll show you somebody who's done a lot of work. So it's about getting out there, putting in that work, and getting better and trying to find the motivation. And I think that can be the hardest thing. So with Warrior Up, it's a bit like we want to help people to feel like superheroes. Mm-hmm. So slap a superhero on your hoodie, your leggings, whatever. We can all be heroes. It just helps to feel like one. And I think that's really what I was trying to help people feel with the Warrior Up line, because I know it was hard for me to get motivated and get back out there. But, I can talk about working hard all day, but how do you know that this is genuine? So the reason why I talk about the fitness stuff and the weightlifting and everything, and I post pictures of my own progress is so people can say, hey, this guy's not full of it. He's putting in the work himself. And I think that's important, because all too often we see so much insincerity and phony people. And so I want people to know, like, look, this is something I take really seriously. And I believe in you, because if I can, recover from something like that and get back out there, then you can too, because there's nothing special about me. Like you said, I'm just an ordinary guy, right? And we all have our challenges. So all you got to do is just believe in yourself and Warrior Up, and you can do anything.
Thank you so much for sharing that with us and here and with the 7 people watching. And we know it's going to be more, because we're streamed in so many different places now. I have to share this message from our sister and good friend, Tammy Webster. She said she's liking the hair, bud. She's on another meeting, so she can't hear, but
it's good.
Yeah. She said she likes it. She's an amazing person too, and a big supporter of all the work that we're doing.
Yeah.
Long, man.
Yeah.
That's
like
awesome.
Quarantine, right? It's like, I'm just gonna let it grow.
Yeah.
Thankfully, I shaved my beard. Otherwise, I'd be looking like maybe some kind of werewolf or something right now, because they're just. And I don't have a great beard. It's the Algonquin genes, right?
Yes, sparse.
Yeah. Show me an Anishinaabe hipster, and I'll give you a pat on the back, because it ain't happening.
Awesome. Yeah, you know what? It's really great to have you here, and for you to share that that experience was really amazing for us to be a part of that, and to be able to create, I guess, that safe space, and have that safe space for you to be here in that with us and to share it. And we love everything that you're doing. The Warrior Up is really cool. I think it does inspire people. I think so. Like the whole concept of it's not just there's so much depth to it. And I think that it appeals to so much that's happening right now in COVID and right. And we're actually talking about that. Like if there's anything that we could ask for you to share with people during this time, right? Like, we're going into, this time of year, which is already so challenging for many people, going through what we've been through as a nation, and even in everyone. It just seems like all of that, what's the word, what I'm thinking of, the different people that have their own challenges, different groups of people even, right? We're just trying to become such a conscious community. And it's just really great to have someone real like you sharing. So
thank you. I think, like I said, one of the things with it was I decided to not tell people what I was going to do with the money from the store. And the reason why was because I didn't want people to think it was like an attention grab thing. Like, oh, he's trying to make it look like, these people are so skeptical, and I understand why. Again, we see so much insincerity, and like there's been a few charities this past year in Canada that have come under a lot of scandal, and I understand it. So I didn't want to talk about those things. I wanted to just say, hey, if you think this stuff is cool, awesome, pick one up. And I didn't want to say, here's why I'm doing it, because I thought it would have just seemed too much like maybe a scam, or like I was trying to work people, So we turned around, like I said, and I got 2 shopping carts full of toys. We brought it to Toy Mountain, and hopefully if you bought a shirt, if you bought some leggings, a pillow, whatever, you're a part of that. And we're all together, trying to make Christmas a happier time for kids who need it. And, I think that's part of the thing when people say Indigenous people have a warrior culture. Well, that means that not only are we people who will stand up for what we believe in, but we take care of one another. And if somebody's going to learn anything from this warrior stuff, I hope it's that being a warrior doesn't just mean fighting. It means taking care of one another and protecting one another and doing our best to make sure that everybody has what they need. So, yeah, if anyone takes anything away from that, I hope it's that, because we're all better off for trying to help one another.
I'm so emotional. Sherry and I are retreating again. This is something that's really important to what we do, is about taking care of yourself, taking care of your spirit. It's a part of what Grandmother's Voice is about, making sure that all the people that are doing this work, like you, we're taking care of ourselves and we're taking care of each other. And I wanted to ask. Well,
if I could say one thing real quick, it's really interesting you say that, because the one thing I learned last year with those health problems is, son, if you don't take care of yourself, you can't take care of anyone else. So no matter what, you got to kind of put in that time to make sure that you're able to do these things, because if you don't, it can all be taken away that quick. So that's the one thing I really learned from it, is take care of yourself, or you ain't going to be able to take care of anything else. And I just thought that tied in really, really well with what you were saying just now.
Perfectly, actually. Thank you. That whole, we're talking about what we're going to be doing in the new year, as Grandmother's Voice and as community builders and capacity building within, for our urban and Indigenous families. And it really is like that wellness piece. Like, what does that mean, right? What does wellness mean? And it's not, I think that if we really go back to, like, Grandma Renee always says, your original instructions. And our original instructions are service to other people, to do what you can to serve other people, no matter what that is in the moment. My mom just posted Sherry. My mom loves us so much. Says, Jode and Sherry, you're such inspirations. Mom, Jay's the best, eh? Anyway, she's Betty. Anyway, she loves it when we say hi to her too. So in all of that, I think that it's really important that wellness is not just about the you getting well, right, or being well. It's about the people that are, giving that to you, giving their knowledge to you. So there's a lot of work that I think our communities have to do in respecting that, what information is coming to all of us and what we're sharing and why we do this in this space and place of inspiring. But I wanted to ask about Skoden. Is that how you say it? Skoden, right? And that's it's like, is that how you say it too?
You kind of froze there real quick.
We're freezing. Okay, we're here. But Skoden, what does that mean? Because I think that's a great segue. I think
this is the one I'm always expecting. And it's funny when it's people who are non-Indigenous who've never heard it at all before, and it's difficult to explain. But at the end of the day, it's the most res thing in existence, right? Because all Skoden is it's just the res. It's the res way of saying let's go then. So if somebody challenges you to a fight, you go, yeah, you want to go? Yeah. Let's go then.
Yeah.
But if you say that with a res accent, it's gonna sound like, yeah, go then. That's what it is, right? And it became this thing that just kind of just went like a wildfire across Indian country online of people sharing that, because no matter what reserve you're from, that's the universal term for let's go then. So we just kind of wanted to do something with that and make it into something cool and positive. So it's like, again, if you're like, okay, I got to go to the gym and I don't have no energy, let's go then. Let's get out there. Let's get after it. So just kind of taking that and using it to make it into something cool and positive, and people can feel like no matter what challenges you're looking at today, let's go then. Let's get after it. Let's do it.
I love it. I love it. My cheeks hurt right now.
Goes hand in hand with Warrior Up.
That's what it is. Right? I thought it lent itself really well, So
I love
it. Some other stuff in the works, but it was the time of year is a really big factor in this, because I wanted to make sure that everyone could get their orders in for Christmas. Otherwise, there's no point. So I'm going to hold off on anything new until well after the holidays are done, because shipping, especially I figure this year, because people are traveling less, more people are going to be shipping gifts than at any other point in my lifetime, probably. So I figured shipping might be tough. So we don't want to introduce anything. I don't want to introduce anything till till the next year. So what we have is what's going to be there for a while. And there's definitely a lot of stuff in the works. Just it's hard for me to be patient because I get excited about these things and I want to share them. But there's some cool stuff in the planning.
That's awesome. Well, we want to be involved in the cool stuff. We love cool stuff.
Can I talk about one of those things real quick?
Yeah.
So if you read the article, one of the questions the reporter asked me was, like, we noticed there's a Algonquin edge or aesthetic to these things. Is there any chance we could see stuff from other Indigenous cultures, other communities, other First Nations? And I said, yeah, but I don't think I'm the person to do them. Like, I would feel really strange because for myself, like the Odjick family, we're basically half Mohawk and half Algonquin. So my grandfather's mother was Mohawk, and before that, every generation it was like that. But I don't feel right calling myself Mohawk because I wasn't raised in a community, and I don't have the culture or anything. And it's, if I were to go out and do, for example, books with like a Mohawk superhero or Mohawk kids books, I'm kind of taking a spot away from maybe one of those people who wants to be doing it. And we all have a responsibility to step up and warrior up in that way too, and say, hey, for so long it was hard for us as Indigenous people to get into these spaces, to get into kids books and comics and television, and even what y'all are doing right now, because other people were doing it for us.
Yeah.
But we have a responsibility amongst ourselves too to say, hey, I can't speak for those people. They have their own voice. So we need to step aside and let them use it. So that's why I won't be doing things like, I know, for example, like we see like Coast Salish art or art from the West Coast a lot, but I'm not of those people. So it's not on me to do that. So phase 2, phase 3 of the business of Warrior Up is going to be to incorporate those artists, bring in some people from there and get them to do it and do everything authentic and do everything the right way as best as I can anyway. And that also goes to insofar as the first American character being a male Indigenous superhero, the plan is to eventually introduce a female Indigenous superhero. But again, I should not be the one to do that. So for that, I would bring in an Indigenous artist, an Indigenous female artist, to create and design and draw that. So that's where things are kind of headed. We just got to get there. We just launched, and I needed to kind of get it going quick because, again, holidays are coming up fast. So we got as much as we could. Everything was done by me, but in the future, that's where we're looking to go. And like I said, I'm trying to do things the best way possible and the right way. Sometimes I overlook things because we're all human, but I promise my heart's in the right place and I'm trying to do it right.
Oh, you can see that.
And that's exactly what we're trying to do as well. Like we don't speak for everyone. We just want to have a platform that we're able to bring other people in. And same with what we're trying to build in our community. Like we can bring a lot of people in and they are the experts. It's certainly not Jody and I that are the expert. We're experts in our own area, but not in other things that our community needs. So, we certainly align in that way as well, Jay, because it's really, really important to have those other voices, because for far too long, it's been that pan-Aboriginal or pan-Indigenous approach, right? Where there's so many of us that have so many different experiences and learning and knowing where we're wanting to go as well. So, and I love all your clothing. I'm a huge supporter and love. It's about time that we are in the fashion industry, in the comic industry, in having producers, and even having something like this that we're online talking is just amazing.
It's so cool, right?
Yeah.
Like this, to me as a kid, the idea of like just talking to other people with video was like some Star Trek stuff. We're like, there's no way this is ever going to be possible.
Yeah.
So it's really cool, right? And I thank you both for doing what you're doing, and I commend you both for doing what you're doing, because things like this are important, and it's what brings people together. And I've always said this about Canada as a whole. I think for the longest time in this country, we've been taught to look at ways in which we're different, and we have to start finding things that we have in common, whether that's between First Nations or Native people and non-Native people. we have to start finding common ground, because at the end of the day, we're all human beings, and we gotta become open, and especially this year, as things have been so rough on so many people, both mentally, physically, and I think spiritually too. So now's the time for us to come together and be there for one another. So thank you for what you're doing. I think it's really awesome.
Thanks. Thank you. So I
You're
guess
welcome.
that's it. We went over in time, but that's okay. We can do this all day, I think.
Sure, I have nothing to do. I cleared my schedule. I had a meeting earlier. I got that done, and that's why I came like just on the button, because it took me a while to get from one to the next. But yeah, I mean, if you want, I'm good to hang out for a while if you want.
Well, we're gonna go retreat actually.
Okay, fair enough.
We're gonna go for walks, and we're doing a little bit of fasting and
I'm
having.
trying to dodge work right now. I'm like, can I just hang out? I don't
Yeah,
want
we
to
can hang out.
work.
Hey, yeah,
More
give me
fun.
something else. We'll hang out if
Yeah.
you tell us one more little secret that you have going on.
Sure. So
One
the
more.
next thing, this is something I don't know what I'm allowed to say about it, but I'm gonna say some things.
Oh, okay.
And
We can always delete it after.
If I get in trouble, I get in trouble. So the next thing for me won't be out for a while, but the next thing from me in terms of like actual, because people, like I said, got excited and were like, is this tomorrow thing about a new book? And it's not, but that doesn't mean there isn't a new book coming. So it took some convincing, but after like hearing a bit about my life and how I came into comics and art and some stories about me, Scholastic started trying to convince me to tell my own story.
Hey, yeah.
And I felt like that was just the most douchey, pretentious thing. I'm like, no one wants to hear about me. I can do stories about superheroes and all this fantastic stuff. And they're like, no, you have a very interesting story. So eventually they convinced me. So the reason why I haven't done anything in terms of kids' books is because I've been writing a graphic novel that's based on my life. So the kid in the book isn't named Jay, just because I don't want people to just associate me with this kid. Like, it's a weird thing to be like, does he look like him? And you bring all these judgments to it that I just want people to be able to enjoy the book. So everything in it happened, but it's the names are different, and I changed my family members' names too, because I just thought it'd be weird to, just like, here's my dad being a jerk, and then I feel guilty. So if I change his name, I'm not really making my dad look like a jerk. So that was a good time. But yeah, so it's called I Am Thunder. And again, it ties into what we're talking about insofar as the theme of the book, which you'll see is about finding that power within yourself. And my grandmother teaching me about the Thunderbird and saying, this is power. And the title really comes from that, about like, we are all powerful in our own way. We just have to find it. And that's the challenge, right? So I Am Thunder, I think, should be out next year. The follow-up question is usually like, are you drawing it? And the answer is yes and no. So the kid in the book is making a comic. So I'll be drawing those pages, because I don't think my style of artwork really lends itself to what we're doing here, which is like coming of age story. So the comic the kid's creating is like a bold American style superhero comic. I'll be doing those pages. I Am Thunder is about 220 pages long. It's a mammoth.
Ooh.
I'm only doing about 12.
Wow.
I don't think I'm at liberty to say who is, but I told Scholastic I'm not the right person to draw this. I feel like females are underrepresented in the comic book industry. We as Indigenous people are for sure underrepresented. So I want, and this is a bold move on my part to try and tell these big companies, this is what I want. But I was like, this is kind of what I want. I want you to get a female Indigenous artist to draw this. So I don't think I should name any names, but
yes,
she's very good, the artist who's attached to it. She started sending in character designs and stuff. I'm real excited about it. It's a fun time to see, and just to compare like drawings of my aunts and uncles to the real life people, even though she doesn't have reference and they actually look like them, and it's trippy, and she's just killing it. So
Oh,
Yeah, I Am Thunder next year.
That's
And
amazing.
I think
Yeah.
it's time to know who it is. I'm not going to mention any names, but I'm almost positive just by the way that you're talking about this person.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure I know.
Yeah.
Well, we'll send you a little message
Send
later.
me a message, and I can neither confirm nor deny, but I can give a blue thumbs up
Absolutely.
on Facebook
I
Messenger. But
will.
like, one
Yeah.
of the things that I want to say about it is like, there was a list of names. I don't know how many, a list of names, and my editor and I both had the same top choice. So that was really cool because it kind of showed like we're on the same page. I think she's a fantastic artist, and she's going to do a great job with it. And it's a story about a kid learning that things are possible, because it's hard, I think, for Indigenous kids a lot of the time, like for myself being like a Native kid living on a reserve, saying all this stuff is out there. Is it possible for us though? And learning that it is if we try. And that's really what the book is about. So I think you'll have a good time. It's probably the best thing I've ever written. So look for I Am Thunder sometime next year, and I hope you dig it.
I love that. I love that title. Feels so good.
That's the thing. We're all thunder. We're all power. We're all powerful.
Mhm.
We have to believe and find it in ourselves. Some days it's very hard, but we never know, or we can never find it unless we look.
Now, Jay, there's a whole group of kids who have been evacuated from their community because they don't have any clean drinking water. And they're in Thunder Bay right now. Those are the kids from Nestandika. And I know Charlie Angus and Chelsea Edwards has asked all of us if we can send them Christmas cards and messages of hope. So
Really?
yeah, so I'll send you the address, and if you can send a Christmas card and a message of hope to the kids in Nestandika, but also to know that we're also thinking of them, and it's horrible that this is happening in Canada. And nobody should have to leave their home because they don't have any clean drinking water. And nobody should have to leave their home because they don't have a place to live, and things like that. So our Canadian government really needs to do a lot better than what it has been. And it's just been piecemeal of what they've been doing. They'll turn around and say that they're doing all these things. But when we're talking about kids that aren't going to be home for Christmas, that wrenches, like it pulls on the heartstrings. And so we'll send you that address, and we'll post it here too as well. So that if anybody's listening as well wants to send a message of hope and where you're coming from, and how old, maybe if you want to share your age, because it was mostly for educators, like students. But we know that kids like to get mail and just messages. So we'd appreciate that.
Yeah, let me know. I'll see what I can do. Maybe we can do something cool with that. I'd like to try to help out. I wasn't aware of that. I've been kind of trapped in this little bubble of me and everything I've got going, and a lot of the time stuff just gets by me. So it's really too bad to hear about. But I'll see what I can do, because that's really, you hate to hear stuff like that.
Yeah, there's just all.
There's such a no need for it, and you look at it and you're like. One of the things that really pisses me off is this notion that there's so much money for Indian stuff. And this idea that, like, well, every year the government sets aside X amount of dollars, and we're like, how much of it really trickles down to where it's needed, though? So much of that ends up just lost in bureaucracy and corruption and mismanagement. How much of it is actually getting there? And that's the one thing I think the government needs to do a better, well, not the one, but one of the many things the government needs to do a better job with is accountability for that money, because it's insane how little of it is actually getting to where it's needed. And anyone who is helping to perpetuate that myth that there's X amount of dollars going into Indian affairs and that's going to help is complicit. We got to start being honest about that shit and saying, no, look, the money's not getting where it needs to be right now. And until we hold the government's feet, and non-Indigenous Canadians as well, hold the government's feet to the fire and say, no, we demand better, because we talk all this stuff about how proud we are of Canada, and Canadians talk about how proud we are of this country, and all we do overseas, and it's like, well, what are we doing within this nation? And if we want to be proud of this country, we have to make it what it can be, not what we're making it out to be. So thank you for telling me about that, because I honestly didn't know.
Yeah, we'll send you and we'll put it on the link here as well.
Okay.
But we'll send it to you as well.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Yes,
This
thanks
is so
much,
good.
Jay.
Eh?
Yeah.
My pleasure.
Yeah, thank you. We really needed it. You've been awesome. You're great to
My
listen to. Peggy Russell, who's one of our amazing grandmothers in our community, just messaged you and said, such a cool show. Peggy, we love you. We love everything that you support us with, and you're an amazing woman with the work that we're doing and the support that you're offering. So she's saying it's exactly what we were talking about yesterday, and where the accountability and transparency around those dollars, we need to do so much better. And so, thanks for calling that out.
Yeah.
Thanks for hanging out with us, Jay.
Thanks
We're
so
gonna
much,
do
Jay.
this.
Oh, my pleasure. Like I said, I've been trying to drag it out because I don't want to get back to work, but I guess I'm gonna have to let you guys get about your business. So thank you very much for your time. Thank you for everything you're doing. I really appreciate it, and happy holidays. I hope you
Happy holidays to you too.
Thanks, you too, brother. We'll talk
Thank you very
soon.
much. Okay.
Bye.